God bless America. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Talk Radio Protege program. I've finally found a way to get YouTube videos onto my phone and play them for you without using my precious data supply. So, another somewhat viral occurrence on the internet. We've already talked about one in the videos from today. Another one is this video here that's been circulating called The Race of Life. I've been calling it the white privilege race. And the premise of the video is everybody lines up on the starting line and they're gonna run in a race. But before they run in the race, this guy in the front is gonna say a bunch of things and everybody's gonna take steps forward if those things apply to those people. So let's play it through here and listen to all of the different privileges that this individual decides to list off.
I want you to take 2 steps forward. If those statements don't apply to you, I want you to stay right where you're at.
This is totally serious.
Take 2 steps forward if both of your parents are still married. Take 2 steps forward if you grew up with a father figure in the home.
There's also no standard for how big a step is.
Take 2 steps forward if you had access to a private education. Take 2 steps forward if you had access to a free tutor growing up. Take 2 steps forward if you've never had to worry about your cell phone being shut off. Take 2 steps forward if you've never had to help mom or dad with the bills. Take 2 steps forward if it wasn't because of your athletic ability, you don't have to pay for college. Take 2 steps forward if you never wondered where your next meal was going to come from.
Okay, that's all the privileges that they name in this video. He might have done more. I don't know. That's just the ones that we have access to. So he says that none of these things, that all these things have nothing to do with you. So I do have a question though. This is obviously a list of privileges that are outlined in order to accentuate the privilege that white people have in this society. So which of these things specifically don't happen to black people because of race? And if any are because of race, then why do these things happen to black people? You know, why do black people's parents get divorced? Why do they not have fathers in the home? Why do they not get private education? Why don't they have a free tutor, etc., etc.? Why? By the way, if you answer slavery to any of those things, you're wrong. And the reason is that the only of these things that slavery could reasonably have had an impact on are items number 1 and number 2. Parents are still married and they grew up with a dad in the home. But it doesn't work because the rates of those 2 things were better for blacks than whites from the period of recording by the U.S. Census, which was 1890, which is after the abolition of slavery, until the 1960s and 70s. So slavery has nothing to do with any of these items. Of these items, items 3, 4, and 7, which is private education, free tutor, and no college expense because not an athlete, still require effort, also known as choice, on the part of the privileged. Getting a private education or having access to private education doesn't automatically, outside of your own will, afford you an advantage in life. Sure, a private education is usually better than a public education, but if you don't pass your classes, you're not going to college, whether you have a private education or a public one. That's just the reality of college. Item number 4, if you have a free tutor and your tutor sucks, you're not going to do any better in your classes. If you have a free tutor and you don't apply yourself, you're not going to pass your classes unless your tutor does your work for you. If you don't have to pay for college, believe it or not, having someone that's not you pay for your college, you still have to pass your classes. I had a full ride going into college. I still had to go to class. I still had to take the exams. I still had to do the homework. I still had to pass the class. That's how scholarships work. In addition, the presence of these items does not guarantee success. The presence of these items does not guarantee success. Just look at, I saw an example of an explanation of privilege that I think compared whites to Hispanics. And I do think, just off of recollection, I haven't seen any numbers. I think that the marriage and fathers at home rate among Hispanics is better than blacks. Yet Hispanics are still largely one of the poorer segments of United States society. Why is that? It's because these things don't guarantee success. Your parents being married at home doesn't guarantee success. Never going hungry doesn't guarantee success. Never having your cell phone shut off doesn't guarantee success. There are people living in poverty that have an iPhone, and they're not successful, but they never have to worry about their phone being shut off. These don't guarantee success.
I want you guys up here in the front just to turn around and look. Every statement I've made has nothing to do with anything any of you have done.
That's not entirely true, first of all, but let's address some of the things that he is talking about that legitimately have nothing to do with what they've done. First of all, what are they supposed to do about it? What do you expect white people to do about the fact that white people's parents stay together more than blacks? What are white people supposed to do about the fact that they grow up with father figures more often than blacks do? What are white people supposed to do about the fact that they may have never had to worry about their phone being shut off? What are we supposed to do to address these privileges? Are we supposed to not provide these privileges to our progeny? Or are we supposed to, or should we encourage black people to strive for these privileges so that their progeny can have the same benefits that whites do? I think it's fine to identify privilege. I think it's fine to even say the words, I have benefited from privilege. I certainly have benefited from my parents being married, from growing up with my dad at home. I certainly have benefited from never having to be concerned about money, never having to help my family pay for the bills. I certainly benefited from not accruing any college debt, and I wasn't an athlete. I certainly benefited from never having to go hungry. But what do you expect me to do about it? What is your point in pointing out privilege? If your point in pointing out privilege is to say, these things helped me get to where I am, you need to now go out and get those things for your children. It might be hard. Absolutely. A person who did not get to benefit from private education might have a harder time getting private education for their children. But these are not, you don't have to get all these privileges at the same time. You can give your children the privilege of growing up in a complete family unit with the father at home while living in abject poverty. You can give your children the privilege of never having to help with bills by working harder your own self to provide for your family. You may not be able to give your children the privilege of private education, free tutor, never having phone shut off, no college expense because they're not an athlete, and never hungry. But you can give your children the tools to give their children more privileges. You can give your grandchildren, thereby giving your grandchildren the opportunity to give their children even more access to privilege. If that is the point of this video, then I applaud you. This is a good thing. But if the point of this video is to make white people feel bad about the position that they're in life, that is sowing the magic D word. That is sowing division. The evil D word that we're not supposed to do. If the point of this video is to sow class envy, then I must strongly disagree with your exercise. And I would like to take a moment. He says, all of these statements have nothing to do with anything that you do. And I have to vehemently disagree with this. If you had no college expense because you're not an athlete, and I have to add another proviso to it, because your parents are not because your parents paid for it, which means you got in on a merit-based scholarship, that is absolutely something that you had to do. That absolutely has everything to do with something that you did. You earned that. If you worked and practiced and took practice at ACTs and took the ACT the maximum number of times that you're allowed to take it, and you got a 35 on the ACT so that you could get a full ride scholarship to college, that's absolutely has everything to do with what you've done. I don't agree with number 7 whatsoever, frankly. Lastly, on this point, who are you to say, the creators of this video and leftists in general, that the people who have cultivated the environment, these privileges for their children, did not work hard to earn them? Who are you to say that it is easy for parents to stay married so that the children have the privilege of growing up in a can't ever think of the name, an intact family household? Who are you to say that it was easy for the parents of these individuals to provide private education? Who are you to say that it was easy for those parents to work for their children so that they never had to provide help with the bills? Who are you to say that those parents never had to go hungry themselves so that their children didn't have to go hungry? I disagree with the premise of this video. Lastly, let's get into the last point.
Has nothing to do with decisions you've made. Everything I have said has nothing to do with what you've done.
False.
We all know these people over here have a better opportunity to win this $100. Does that mean these people back here can't race? No. We would be foolish to not realize we've been given more opportunity.
That's fine, but what's your point? What are the people that got opportunity supposed to do now that they realize they've had opportunity? Maybe we should be asking, what are the people in the back supposed to do now that they realize they don't have as much access to opportunity? And maybe we should be taking this moment to say, you should strive in your life so that your children can stand at the front of the race.
We don't want to recognize that we've been given a head start.
I mean, that's human nature, to want to be able to say, yeah, I've done this on my own. But what's the shame in capitalizing on the opportunities that the people that came before you, that worked hard before you, have provided for you?
But the reality is we have. Now, there's no excuse. They still got to run their race.
I don't see why he doesn't spend more time on this. They still have to run their race. The onus is now on the people in the back of the race to provide the opportunity and privilege for their children to be able to compete in this race.
You still got to run your race. But whoever wins this $100, I think it'd be extremely foolish of you not to utilize that and learn more about somebody else's story. Because the reality is, if this was a fair race and everybody was back on that line, I guarantee you some of these black dudes would smoke all of you. And it's only because you have this big of a head start that you're possibly going to win this race.
Okay, he finally said win this race called life. This is what I've been waiting for him to talk about. What does it mean to win the race of life? What does it mean to win the race of life? Does it mean you're rich? And if it means that, yes, you have to be rich in order to win the race of life, well, what's the standard of being rich? Is it I'm out of poverty? Is it I'm in the middle class? Is it I'm worth $1 million? Is it I'm worth $10 million? Is it I'm worth $1 billion? You've mentioned reality, but the reality is some people are just happy to have less than others. That doesn't make them lazy. That doesn't make the people that have more evil. That just means that people have different standards of what is winning to them. Does it mean stuff? Does winning the race of life mean I have a bunch of stuff? See my response for riches. Does winning the race of life mean I have a lot of fame and a lot of people know who I am? I argue that blacks have a distinct advantage in winning the race to fame. I would submit to you today that winning the race of life means I'm a happy person. And the reality is, different people are happy with different things. Maybe the race that I choose to run doesn't lead to a $100 bill. Maybe it leads to a $10 bill over here at a specific location. Maybe I don't want to chase the $100 bill into a place where I'll not be close to my family and friends. Maybe I want to chase my race of life to a place where I can be happy rather than things that I can be happy with. My point is that we can hardly say just by counting your money whether or not you have won the race. Even if riches is the measure of winning, there's more than one path to those riches. Not all of these paths are endorsed by our society. Our society endorses really only college, and that doesn't make them less valid. A lot of time was spent in this video talking about the things that people do to make sure that their children have the good traditional education. Good high school in a private school, good college education, good 4-year degree. But you can become rich without those things. You can become rich by starting your own business, doing a trade. You can become rich by starting your own business, doing a service. Some of the best examples of becoming rich, doing something that our society has not endorsed as a valid life choice, are the people in Hollywood, the people that do spend a lot of time preaching about going to college and spending a lot of time getting an education are the least educated people on the planet. And I think at this time that's all that I have to say on the topic. I hope you all enjoyed this video. I hope that you'll leave a like and subscribe. Let me know especially what you're thinking about this topic. I'd love to hear from you. Make sure that you subscribe and come back for more. I'm uploading videos every weekday. Thank you so much for watching. Have a wonderful day, and God bless.